All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at a phenomenon known as sell the news.
Yeah,
It's something that happens in pretty much every market, but especially in crypto.
absolutely.
And we've got some really interesting source material to look at today, so we'll jump into that in a second. But basically, for our listeners who maybe haven't heard this term before,
Sure.
it's basically this idea that a lot of times after a big news announcement or like a product launch or some kind of regulatory clarity
Right.
or really anything like that, that you would think would send a crypto's price up.
Yeah.
Sometimes the price actually goes down. And we're going to look at why that happens, what the kind of mechanics behind that are,
Okay.
what the psychology is, and then also how you as a listener can maybe use that to your advantage.
Sounds good.
So, yeah, why don't we just jump right into it? I mean,
Sure.
we've got some examples from, over the years, some historical stuff
Right.
with Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yep.
So, I mean, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about this whole sell the news thing?
Well, I think what's interesting about Sell the News is that it's not just about the news itself, it's about the expectation leading up to the news. So you have this buildup of anticipation and hype,
Right.
and a lot of people buy into that hype.
Sure.
And then when the news actually drops, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
well, we knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't as good as we thought it was going to be.
Right.
Or maybe people just want to take profits because they bought in early.
They want to cash out.
Exactly.
I think one good example that I saw in the research was the launch of Bitcoin futures back in, 2017?
2017, yeah.
That was kind of a big deal because it was like, okay, institutional investors
Right.
now have a way to actually bet on the price of Bitcoin.
It was a legitimization in a way.
Yeah, legitimization. And you would think that would send the price skyrocketing, but actually what we saw was a little bit of a spike and then a pretty big dip.
Yeah, I think there's this almost like a psychological phenomenon where the anticipation of something can be more powerful than the actual event itself. Like when you're looking forward to a vacation for months, and then you finally go on the vacation, it's never quite as good as you imagined it.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I think that kind of happens in the markets too.
That's so true.
You get all this hype and then reality sets in.
And I think I read somewhere in the source material that a lot of this is also driven by short-term traders.
Oh, absolutely.
Who are just kind of like looking to make a quick buck.
Yeah, they're riding the wave.
And so they're not really interested in holding long-term.
They see that spike and they're like, all right, time to sell.
Exactly.
Get out while the getting's good.
And so that kind of contributes to the dip.
Exactly.
And it's interesting because it's not always like bad news that triggers this.
Right.
And like you were saying, even with good news.
It's the realization of the news.
Totally.
Like, okay, it happened.
Yeah.
Now what?
What's next?
Yeah.
And I think the merge is a great example of it.
A merge, yeah.
Which was obviously a huge upgrade for Ethereum. It moved it to proof of stake, made it way more efficient.
Yeah, much more
Scalable and eco-friendly.
Yeah.
All this great stuff. But still, we saw this pattern play out.
We did.
Leading up to the merge, Ethereum's price was going up, up, up.
Yeah.
And then, boom, the merge happens successfully and the price drops.
It's almost like everyone took a breath and said, okay, what's next? What's the next catalyst?
And I think that's a really important lesson for our listeners, is that even if you believe in a project long term, even if you think the news is really good, don't just assume that the price is going to keep going up.
Don't get caught up in the hype.
Right, because this pattern, this sell the news pattern, is something that you can actually use to your advantage.
Absolutely.
If you know what to look for.
You can time the market a little bit better. You can buy the rumor or maybe sell the news if you think it's going to dip.
You can avoid FOMOing into something right at the peak.
Yeah, FOMO is a big one.
Because everyone's so excited about it.
Right. Everyone's talking about it.
Exactly. And then you end up buying at the worst possible time.
And then you're left holding the bag.
Yeah. So, I mean, even just having this awareness of sell the news can really help you make smarter decisions.
It's a valuable tool.
And I think it's also important to note that this doesn't just apply to individual investors. Like, let's say you have a small business that's operating in the crypto space.
Absolutely.
Maybe you're developing an NFT marketplace or offering consulting services or something like that.
Yeah.
Understanding sell the news can actually be really important for you too.
Oh, definitely. For your marketing and inventory management.
Right.
You got to be aware of these cycles.
So, for example, let's say you're planning a big marketing push around a major crypto conference. You're expecting a surge in interest.
Yeah, everyone's going to be talking about crypto, lots of potential customers.
But you also got to be prepared for that potential dip.
The post-conference slump.
Exactly, because the sell the news phenomenon might kick in.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be caught off guard. You don't want to have all this inventory or all this marketing budget front-loaded for a time when demand is actually going to be lower.
You got to be agile.
You got to be strategic about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think sell the news is just one of those things that's really important to understand. If you want to navigate the crypto markets successfully.
It's a key part of the game.
Whether you're an investor, a trader, or a business owner.
Absolutely.
So, to kind of wrap things up here.
Sure.
The big takeaway is that sell the news is a real thing.
It's a pattern.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And it's driven by human psychology.
It's not just about the news itself. It's about how people react to it.
Exactly. And so understanding that psychology can really give you an edge.
It can.
It can help you make better decisions.
Absolutely.
And avoid some of those common pitfalls that people fall into.
The fear and the greed.
The FOMO, the hype, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's all part of it.
So yeah, just keep that in mind.
Stay informed.
Stay informed, stay vigilant.
And always be questioning.
Question everything.
Don't just believe the hype.
Yeah, because sometimes the hype is real.
Sometimes.
But sometimes it's not.
And that's the challenge, isn't it?
That's the challenge.
Figuring out which is which.
And that's what makes the crypto markets so fascinating.
Definitely.
So I think that's a great place to leave it for today.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us for another deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.
See you later.